Hello, happy Monday. Welcome to the Locked On Red Sox podcast. I am your host, NESN's Lauren Campbell. Thank you so much for making Locked On Red Sox your first listen of the day. Find us on Twitter at LO_Red Sox and me at Lauren, 3 laws, Lauren with 4 R's. We have a lot to get to today. Erod no longer is a member of the Red Sox. And unfortunately, there is some sad news to report in the passing of 2007 Red Sox shortstop Julio Lugo. So let's just get right into today's episode.
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
So if you woke up Monday morning around 9 a.m., you woke up to the news that Erod signed a 5-year deal with the Detroit Tigers. The deal is worth a reported $77 million guaranteed, but it can reach $80 million based on incentives. Not quite sure what those incentives are. I have not seen any reports on those. I'd assume innings pitched, maybe strikeouts, appearances, anything along those lines. And it also includes an opt-out after his second season and a no-trade clause as well. So this really, really sets up Erod for success. It kind of allows him to control his own future and take control of his own destiny here. He did so. Obviously, he rejected the Red Sox 1-year, $18.4 million qualifying offer. I was a little bit surprised by that, only because it was a really good opportunity for Erod to come back to a team he's familiar with, pitch a strong 2022 season, and set himself up for a very successful free agency after the 2022 season. But obviously, he chose to go a different route. He got a long-term deal with a team that's rebuilding, but has a lot of positive upside and a lot of young talent there. And not only that, it will give him an opportunity to have a larger role in the Detroit organization, I believe. I kind of think this will set him up to be a 2 or 3 starter and give him, like I said, a more prominent role, a little more responsibility. And maybe that's what he wants. He is only 28, so he can opt out. He'll be 30 and maybe set himself up after the 2 years for a longer term deal, maybe the last long-term deal of his career. But, good for him. I was surprised. I really thought he would accept Boston's offer just because he's familiar with the team. He likes Alex Cora, but, he had to do what's best for him. And that's what MLB players have to do in the offseason, especially if they want to get paid. And Erod certainly did. So MLB trade rumors reported the deal. It's guaranteed $28 million over those first 2 years of Erod's deal. So if he does opt out after 2023, he'll leave 3 years and $49 million on the table. That's certainly realistic should he perform well over the next 2 seasons, and then sets himself up for that long-term lucrative deal on an open market. He does turn 29 in April. He's coming off in 2021. He went 13-8, 4.74 ERA. He pitched 32. He had 32 appearances, 31 starts, 157 and 2/3 innings. So he was clearly durable. Whenever you can make 30 plus starts in a season, it's certainly beneficial for your team and for you. I think that the underlying metrics here maybe suggest that he was the victim of some bad luck, and that was largely due to some Red Sox defensive struggles in the offseason, which fans saw way too much of last season. So it's easy to see why he generated a lot of interest in free agency. There was the Red Sox, the Tigers, obviously, and the Angels also were interested in Erod. That's not too bad, especially with a Detroit team that has a lot of upside potential. There's a lot of young talent there, and going through a bit of a rebuild here, it really could be a great opportunity for Erod to really kind of rebuild himself and show that he is a reliable left-handed pitcher. So now, obviously, he leaves a hole in the Red Sox rotation. That's a lot of innings that he walks away from for the Red Sox, and kind of just leaves that hole in the rotation on a Red Sox team that already is going through the motions of pitching, and kind of there's a lot of question marks around the Red Sox pitching and what to do. So I did put together a couple of potential rotations. The first one is very internal. So it would go Chris Sale, Evaldi, Nick Pivetta, Garrett Whitlock, and Tanner Houck. And this is the cheapest and simplest and maybe even the most dangerous way to build this Red Sox starting rotation. This will be Sale's first full season back from Tommy John surgery. He should be better and more capable of working deeper into games with the normality of the offseason, spring training. I really think this will be good for Chris Sale, and be good for him too to get back on the mound and get into a good routine and a normal offseason. I think it'll be really good for him. And then you have Evaldi, who proved last year that his ceiling is that of an all-star, really, because he dominated. He has had 2 Tommy John surgeries, a slew of other elbow injuries, and last year he was the ace of the Red Sox, and the Red Sox really needed him to step up, and he did just that. So that was incredibly encouraging to see. And then you have Pivetta, Whitlock, and Houck. There's a lot of untapped potential there for sure. I think that Pivetta, I think he's a lock for the rotation. I think he proved a lot last year, and was really a surprise. He was really a pleasant surprise for the Red Sox. I really liked what he did for the team. Whitlock, I think, is a very interesting case because he was developed as a starter, but with the Rule 5 draft and never pitching above Double-A, they brought him in. The Red Sox brought him in as a reliever. And boy, he did well. He was very, very good out of the bullpen. He really proved a lot of people wrong. And then Houck, he's effective, but he goes through the order the third time he starts to struggle. However, in a perfect world, this is the rotation that Boston breaks camp with. But Houck, there is some question there just because he really does need to develop and be confident in this third pitch that he really needs to develop in order to get through that rotation more than twice before beginning to struggle, hitters beginning to figure him out. But I do like the idea of having Chris Sale, Nate Eovaldi, Nick Pivetta, Garrett Whitlock, and Tanner Houck as your 1 through 5. That could be very, very dangerous for Boston. However, at the end of the day, whatever the Red Sox decide to do, especially if they are not buying into Whitlock and Houck as rotation starters, they're probably going to have to add depth. I mean, they're certainly going to have to add depth regardless, but this could be where a Garrett Richards reunion makes sense. They declined his option probably because it was just a little more money than they wanted to give him, especially if they want to use him out of the bullpen. I don't think they'd want to bring him back as a starter. However, he was effective out of the bullpen last season after he got demoted there. That might be something to keep our eye on. Another rotation I decided to kind of put together, this would involve the Red Sox making a trade with the Oakland A's. Shout out Jason B from Locked On A's. So this would go Chris Sale, Nate Eovaldi, Nick Pivetta, Frankie Montas, and Garrett Whitlock. There's definitely a lot of free agent options for Chaim Bloom and the Red Sox to explore. But if you can trade for Montas, who's cost controlled, he's not going to be just a rental, and he is durable, this certainly will benefit a team like the Red Sox. Now, the A's, looks like they just want to kind of blow up the team and have a fire sale there. The Red Sox could get Chris Bassett, Sean Manaea. There are other probably more realistic options for Boston besides Frankie Montas, but I really do like that just because I think that Frankie Montas will provide the innings. He's durable, and I think it would be fun to watch Sale, Eovaldi, Pivetta, Montas, and Rick Whitlock. That's pretty dangerous right there as well. And my third and final potential rotation also is a bit of a hybrid between outside teams and the Red Sox. So this one would go Chris Sale, Nate Eovaldi, Nick Pivetta, Frankie Montas, and Steven Matz. This is just one example of a hybrid approach that also includes the internal options, like I said. Trade-in free agency, I mean, this could be a lot for the Red Sox to do. I think that getting Steven Matz and Frankie Montas would be tough. I think that I have no idea what their plans are for spending wise, but I do know that Chaim Bloom is ready to make a splash with pitching. This might be a good option for them to do. It's also a very, very realistic way to build your pitching rotation and your roster. And Steven Matz, he has battled injuries. He's been inconsistent, and that's a little disappointing because he did look to be incredibly promising in the beginning of his career, but he could fill the void left by Rodriguez, which I mentioned earlier is quite the void that needs to be filled. And Matz has logged at least 150 innings in his last 3 full seasons, not including the shortened 2020 COVID season. And to the surprise of probably no one, the Red Sox have been mentioned as a potential landing spot for Matz. So that could be something else to keep our eye on. I think that no matter what, the three rotations that I gave you there, I think that they're all dangerous. Obviously, losing Erod is no fun. I think that it's going to be really tough to replace him. I think it will be very interesting to see how the Red Sox decide to replace him and move forward without him. But the offseason is young, it has just begun, and the Red Sox now need to really make some moves here. It's also worth noting that the CBA does expire on December 1st, and that's approaching very fast if you can believe it. So I really think the Red Sox are going to kind of put their foot on the gas here and try to get some pitchers in a Red Sox uniform before that December 1st expiration date, but we will see. We do have a few more things to talk about here on Locked On Red Sox. Unfortunately, our next topic is a bit of a somber one. Julio Lugo did pass away at the age of 45. We will talk about him in our next segment of Locked On Red Sox. But first, I do want to talk to you about Directv Stream. Does this sound familiar? You've got one device that lets you catch the game live, another that lets you stream your favorite shows, you're watching sports highlights on your phone, and you've got your neighbor's best friend's login for the good stuff. Honestly, that kind of sounds like me. But I want to tell you a simple way to get all that entertainment you love without the hassle and a great way to finally get your TV together. It's called Directv Stream, and it brings your live TV and on-demand favorites together like never before. So you can watch all of your favorite shows, movies, and sports all in one place. That means there's no more juggling remotes, no need to buy another device ever again. And the best part, there's no annual contract. So get rid of the clutter, get rid of the confusion, and get your TV together with Directv Stream. You can learn more at directv.com. That's directv.com. Compatible device required, and content varies by package. Welcome back to the Locked On Red Sox podcast. Thank you so much for making Locked On Red Sox your first listen of every day. So some somber news to report that Julio Lugo passed away at the age of 45. He spent 12 years in Major League Baseball. He played for 7 teams, including the Astros, who drafted him in 1994, the Rays, the Dodgers, the Red Sox, the Cardinals, the Orioles, and the Braves. He spent most of his time with the Astros and the Rays, but he's most remembered for his 3 years with the Red Sox. He played a major role with Boston in 2007 when they won the World Series. Very sad. He's very young, only 45. His family said that they believed it to be a heart attack. And, 45 you still have a lot of life to live. When you're 45, I know when we're younger and you look at people who are in their 40s, you're like, wow, that's really old. And then as you get older, somebody passes away around that age and it becomes very and almost it's very realistic where you're like, it becomes more like, wow, there was still so much life to live there. This was an athlete, a former athlete who was in good shape. A heart attack is not something you would expect. It's very sad. All the prayers and love and support to the Lugo family at this time. As a Red Sox fan growing up here in Boston, I certainly have a lot of good memories of Lugo, especially that 2007 Red Sox team. They were a lot of fun. They're very memorable. A lot of former Red Sox players reacted on Twitter. Will Middlebrook shared some memories. Josh Reddick and Alex Cora just shared the sad face emoji. They were very close. So it's very sad. It's the second baseball player as well to pass away at age 45 in the last week or so. Pedro Feliciano, unfortunately, also died at the age of 45. So it's just very, very sad. It's always sad to know that athletes you watched growing up passed away, but also they passed away so young. You leave behind a family, friends, and a ton of memories that people will never forget. And his legacy certainly will live on, but it's very sad to think about a healthy 45-year-old dying of a heart attack, and somebody who brought joy to a Red Sox team and to a Boston community just a few years after they broke the curse of the Bambino. He also was one of my grandmother's favorite players. She loved watching him. We watched a lot of Red Sox games together when I was younger, when I was living with her, and it was just so much fun to listen to her talk about Julio Lugo. I have not called her today yet. I will call her in a little while, so I'm sure that she'll be able to share some more stories about him and just kind of some memories that she had watching him. But she absolutely loved him. She loved watching him every night. Anytime he would be on the field or up to bat, she'd be like, look, Julio Lugo. And it was just a very fond memory that sticks out. Anyone who knows me for a while now knows that my grandmother is a huge reason why I love the Red Sox and why I love baseball. And the 2007 Red Sox team really brought me a lot of joy, a lot of fun, and a lot of good memories with my friends and my family. So it's very sad to hear of his passing. I kind of stopped in my tracks when I saw it first reported. I was just like, I was doing some research here for Locked On Red Sox, and that popped up, and I was just like, oh, this is the kind of stuff that I hate adding to my shows because it's not fun to talk about death by any means. Obviously, we do have to talk about it because he did play such a role for the 2007 Red Sox and was part of that World Series team. But it's just never any fun. It's sad. Like I said, he was only 45. He brought me so many good memories. I hope that his family and his friends can find some sort of peace and closure during this time. It's especially hard with the holidays approaching. And what makes it even a bit more sad is that his 46th birthday would have been tomorrow, November 16th. So nothing but love, support, prayers, good vibes to the Lugo family. And I hope that they are able to, like I said, find some peace, find some closure. And I hope that the baseball community continues to support them and rally around them. Coming up in our third and final segment of Monday's Locked On Red Sox, I will end this show on a positive note to get your week started right. But before we get to that, I do want to tell you about Built Bar because I absolutely love Thanksgiving. It is one of my favorite holidays, if not my favorite. The good food, the good treats, there's so many of them. But maybe sometimes you want something that's a tasty dessert but isn't so full of calories and sugar. So I have the perfect thing for you, and it's called Built Bar. It's the new holiday dessert. You can feast on something delicious and feel good about it. It's low calorie, it's low carb, it's low fat, and it's high in protein. And some of them are covered in 100% real chocolate. So you get all that yummy taste, all that good chocolate taste without the guilt. It's a great option for when you're hungry, and you can even share some at your family gatherings. It might make things less awkward because who doesn't have a family holiday where there's some awkwardness at the dinner table? There's new surprises all month. There's limited time flavors arriving at built.com regularly, so go check out that site often. There's nothing like a Built Bar Black Friday, so mark your calendars because Black Friday will be a huge event with tons of surprises. Go to built.com, use promo code LOCKED15, and you'll get 15% off your order. Promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com. Welcome back to the Locked On Red Sox podcast. Thank you once again for making Locked On Red Sox your first listen of every day. Let's do what we always do. Let's end this show on a positive note. And that is, even though Erod has left the Red Sox organization and now he will pitch for the Detroit Tigers, this really opens up for a good opportunity for the Red Sox to go out and really bolster their pitching, whether it be starters or relievers. They have a ton of opportunity now, a little bit more financial flexibility to add that rotation depth, maybe a starter. I'm not sure what they're going to do. I gave you a couple of options there. I'd love to hear what you think they're going to do in the comment section or at Twitter, whatever you feel like doing. But I really think that this is going to kind of put the Red Sox into overdrive and really be able to kind of spend a little bit more money now that they know they're not going to be paying Erod. They can come out, they can give a starter or maybe a reliever some extra money. They have some extra money now to play around to really make this bullpen, to really make this rotation something better that they've needed for a long time now. It's always been the pitching for the Red Sox. It's faced a ton of questions over the last few seasons, and this season is no different. Now they have an opportunity, a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of good pitchers on the market. Now they just need to capitalize and get one or two of these guys signed. So that will do it for today's episode of the Locked On Red Sox podcast. Thank you so much for making Locked On Red Sox your first listen of every single day. Please find us on Twitter at LO_Red Sox or my Twitter, Lauren, 3 laws, Lauren with 4 R's. And please rate, review, and subscribe to Locked On Red Sox. Leave us a review. Let us know what we can do more of, do better. I'm not here without you, and I always want to improve. And when you subscribe to Locked On Red Sox, you never miss an episode. You always know when it drops, whether it's 4 a.m., midnight, 2 a.m., you'll never miss an episode. Don't forget to check out all the other Locked On shows. Locked On A's, Jason and I have a crossover coming for you very soon. Locked On Yankees, Locked On Giants, Locked On Dodgers. Everyone does an incredible job here. And now that you've made Locked On Red Sox your first listen, head on over to Locked On MLB with Sully to make that your second listen today. He provides great analysis of MLB, both past and present. It's a really awesome show. He's a good friend of mine, a good friend of the podcast, and it's free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Have a great rest of your Monday. We'll see you Tuesday.